Today is our last session. This is session number 3. Today we're going to be talking about time management and procrastination. We're going to start off by everybody reintroducing themselves because we have some old members and some new members back to the group. And then we'll talk a little bit about reflecting on last week, and then we'll move on to an activity and talk a little bit about what procrastination means to you, and to me, and to everyone. So, Mallory, we'll start with you.
How do I introduce myself? I'm Mallory.
Perfect. Welcome back, Mallory.
I'm Sierra.
Okay.
Jenna.
I'm Greg.
And Greg. And Rylan.
Right.
This is right. Okay, so last week we talked, the first week we talked about goals, and then we went over what our goals were and if we'd achieved them as of last week. And then last week we went over stress management and how that relates to a little bit of time and also relates to our goals that we had chosen for ourselves. So in regards to time today, we'll start by talking about stress management and last week, and if we were able to do any homework, if anybody actually went through and did some maybe breathing exercises that we talked about, or making lists and waking up early in the morning and doing lists. That was a big one for us that we talked about. So does anybody want to talk about their week this week as far as related to stress management?
Sure. I used your technique of sitting in bed and making my list and my game plan of how I'm gonna do the day, and I got through my finals without having a panic attack, which is the first time I've gone through finals without having a panic attack, so that's awesome. I think that just that 30 minutes, I think one day I took like 15, waking up early and doing that in your head does help relieve a little bit of the stress.
Did you reward yourself at all this week?
I did. I rewarded myself by going to Santa Cruz and taking a little trip, mental vacation.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Greg or Mallory?
Mallory.
I restarted using my planner more again because I kind of fell off the wagon and stopped using it. So yeah, it just felt better to have everything played out and see everything in the weeks coming, and not just have it all in my head and feel like it's all jumbled in there.
Did you unpack any boxes?
I did.
Good for you.
A few.
Yeah.
I kind of just went along. My wife helped me actually with lists and stuff because she's a crazy list maker.
Uh-huh.
So now we have a list in the refrigerator of everything that we need to get done during the week and what time we each work and things that we get accomplished, and that's pretty much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What a good
So-
week.
Yay.
And I know, Jenna, you weren't here last week, but we did talk about stress and how it relates to our goals and things that we do when we are stressed out. Is there anything this week that you took time for yourself or did anything for yourself so you weren't stressed about anything?
Yeah, I spent the weekend with my family and went back to church and had a really nice weekend.
Okay, so in regards to procrastination, we're going to start off with an activity. Each of you has a paper in front of you. The paper is folded in half. One half is going to be, the blank half that's not written on, is going to be something that you procrastinate on. And then at the bottom of that half, why you procrastinate on that, possibly. And then the other half is going to be a time management matrix that I've set up for you. So it's going to be 4 boxes. It's kind of set up to be a square. So we have urgent and not urgent at the top, and on the sides we have important and not important. So in regards to your own time and how your time is spent, fill out 1 to 2 items in each box. One for urgent and important, one for not urgent and important, one for urgent and not important, and the other for not urgent and not important. Currently in your life. Okay.
Turn it off.
That sounds.
That sounds very. Turning off the emergency broadcast system.
And let me know if you have any questions about anything
Good job.
while you do it. And then when you are ready, put the paper in the, fold it in half and put it in the middle of the table. That's okay. Capillary.
Hold on, one more.
You put one thing on my matrix.
Okay, so now we're going to mix these up, and then we're all going to get a new paper handed back to them. And we're gonna go over a little bit if we agree or don't agree and what we feel like maybe we could offer that person that's having that type of feeling about procrastination, what they do, you do personally, that maybe some skill or tool that somebody might need. So if you get the same, paper, then we'll try it over again. But everybody should have a different one. Everybody have a different one? Okay, so we're gonna start with this side. We're gonna start with the procrastination side. If we want to go around in a circle and say at least one thing that somebody wrote down on their paper that they procrastinate about. Sarah, we'll start with you.
Okay. So they wrote chores and laundry that they procrastinate on. Why? Because they hate laundry.
Perfect.
2 is important conversations because they are awkward and scary.
Oh, I like that. It's actually a really good one. That's a really thoughtful one. And Jenna?
Getting ready to go out because I would rather watch a movie.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That is such a woman.
And studying homework because I do better when I wait. So.
Okay. Great.
One of them was unpacking because I have all the essentials unpacked and the rest is just stuff, which should be thrown away, I guess, essentially in my eyes. And the other one would be,
Sorry, it's messy.
I like the third one because it's the complete opposite of me. Groceries. I generally don't like it, and I buy food at work.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I procrastinate on grocery shopping for sure.
And Mallory?
This person put they procrastinate on working out because they are either busy and don't have the time, or they're just lazy and they don't want to.
Guilty.
And then they put they procrastinate on packing for trips because they don't want to forget anything.
Okay. So, let's start with Sierra. I like the one that was written down about awkward conversations or important conversations, because they're awkward and scary. Does anybody feel the same way about that? About talking about important conversations?
Yeah. I know from past experience, when I would get in a fight with my ex-boyfriend, he wanted to sit and wait on it and not talk about it, and I wanted to talk about it. And that time of waiting would be my stomach would be churning, and because you don't know what you're coming, when he would come home, it's like you don't know what you're coming home to and what kind of conversation are we gonna have, and those things give you anxiety and stressful.
I know personally, my ex and I, when we would we would have fights like that, I want to hash things right then and there, and they too needed space and time. And so to fix that, we came up with a time that we would reconvene. That way they had time to do what they need to do, and I knew at that moment in time that I would be able to hash out what I wanted to talk about. And that way I wasn't like, let's talk. Are you ready? Because that's how I would be. I would just be like, are you ready? You want to talk? Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. And it'd make it worse. And so we'd be like, okay, so today at 1 o'clock, we will sit down together and we'll talk about it. Until then, you're free to do whatever you need to do, in order to have that time and space. Is there any other suggestions?
I always used to get with serious conversations, not necessarily in relationships, but with just anything. Used to get stressed out about it being the right time. I always want it to be like appropriate. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Like I try to be a peacekeeper with a lot of stuff, so like making sure it's at the right time is always stressful. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gone more to the side of like it's not gonna be the right time ever. Like it's just not for a lot of conversations, especially if it's like a hard or an important thing. So you just kind of have to push yourself to do it.
Yeah. That was mine, so that's why
That was yours?
Yeah.
You want to talk about why it's so
No,
hard
no,
and
it's
awkward and scary?
No, because it gets
true.
real. Like it's you have to run these conversations out, and then once you have them out there, then everything like it's all out there and it's real, and then things change from, you know, I don't know. I think it's good to have these important conversations, whoever maybe with relationship stuff or work stuff or just hashing stuff out, but it's always awkward, and you always try to put it off as much as you can because then you're either gonna be stronger afterwards, or you're gonna be like weaker, or you're not gonna be, I guess, you know, good of friends or as good of like spouses or whatever, you know. So it's scary.
That's why you procrastinate.
That's why I procrastinate.
Okay. At what point do you realize that you can no longer procrastinate?
You know, yeah, you know it
Super
has to
awkward.
happen. You know, conversations have to happen.
The
You know,
elephant in the
like,
room.
yeah, exactly. The elephant is
Yeah.
the weird where you cut
Goodbye.
the tension with a knife, because
Yeah.
both of you know you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
all the time. And you just try to, well, it's an avoidance.
I legitimately like put something in my head, like this sounds silly, but like it's like if we're having a conversation and we're driving in the car, I'll be like, okay, once we get that past that stoplight, I'm gonna say it. Like I have to do something like that in my mind, because if I don't, it just won't happen.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good tool, I think, to use. Yeah.
Use landmarks. I'm gonna get past that bird and let's
Or it's like once I get done watching the show, I'm gonna
Yeah,
mention
yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
When I start just babbling and talking incessantly about weird things, that's when I know, like, okay, we need to have a conversation.
Because you're like finding ways
Because
to
like, so.
just goes on and on.
How's the weather?
Right? Whenever weather conversations come up, like, it's so hot right now.
Right, I feel like when you start talking about the weather,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just,
just
you're like, oh,
stop
we're one of
talking,
those.
right?
Yeah. So is there any other ones that are listed that you want to talk about on anybody's paper that you felt like you might agree with, or you might offer somebody something?
No, I think when she said unpacking, she has the essentials unpacked. I say don't. I mean, you're good. Then you're fine. I've lived in this house for 10 years and I still have boxes I haven't unpacked that's just full of stuff. Or I bought new things that I needed.
That are probably in the box.
They're probably in the box, so we're good.
No? Okay, so then we'll move on to the other side, the time matrix table. So it depends, everybody's so different when it comes to this time management matrix, because it depends on what's important to you in that moment. You know, to me, what's urgent and important may be like a medical issue that needs to be addressed right then and there. Or getting my homework done for me right now is like very urgent, very important. You know, that's definitely on my like top list. Something that's not urgent and not important to me right now is watching TV. So let's go through and just read some of those that people wrote that's important to them, and then we can laugh about it and talk about it.
Alright, I got one.
Okay.
Urgent and important is eating and making food, which I think it's a great one.
It's really urgent.
It's urgent and making food.
Or else you get hangry.
My favorite one though is urgent and not important is every little thing at work.
Well, just like I'm just saying like not the big things, not like I have to plan
So
for
this
the
is
night
your
and I have to. Well, I'm just
kidding.
waiting.
This person.
Every little small thing of like, oh, this person is upset about this, and
Yeah.
like just not letting every little thing get like under your
And
skin.
it's not important to
'cause
you,
it's-
but
yeah, it's urgent. You need to fix things, but it's not necessarily so important that you need to get like freaked out about it. That's what I was trying to say.
I love it.
Janae?
Urgent and important, packing for the girls' trip this week.
See? Important.
Very important.
Well, if you have a vacation planned, it is important to make sure that you have things packed and ready to go. I know personally when I go on vacation, I am like a stress case before. Making
You don't
because I don't want to
wanna leave
forget
that.
anything.
Yeah.
And then I will like be like, oh, well then the other
Then you can
person,
just
or
go
I
buy
can go
something.
buy it, but then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna waste money, I'm going to buy it, and then I become stressed out thinking like, well, I want to save that money because I worked really hard for it because I want to use it to buy a drink, or I want to use it to buy a souvenir. And now I'm using it on a toothbrush that I can easily just grab out of the tooth thing after I actually brush my teeth.
Or just don't brush your teeth, you're fine.
Perfect.
No.
Oh, forget the dental hygiene lady.
Yeah. Brush and floss.
Ooh, flosses. Anyway, that's good.
We're not talking about dental hygiene right now. Anybody else?
This person put that important but not urgent was working out, which I agree with. You know in your head that it is important, but it's like becomes less and less urgent as time goes by. You're like, I walked a lot today at work and like I'm tired. I don't, like it's easy to make excuses for that. I totally get
And then I see somebody who's like works out all the time and they look fantastic, and I'm like,
But then you don't.
and that burger was so good.
Yeah, like, at least I eat pizza every day.
All they eat is greens with no dressing.
I love
My
food.
pizza's fantastic.
I cannot give up food.
Yeah. Okay, so setting those aside, we can go back to just talking about procrastination and why we procrastinate in general. Like, why do you think that we wait till the last minute to write the paper, or why do you think we wait until we have a medical condition to go to a doctor? Until when it becomes severe is when we normally visit a doctor, instead of thinking like, oh, my leg really hurts, maybe I should go see a doctor. Until your leg turns green and you have gangrene, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I really need to go see a doctor.
Well, I guess in that aspect, it would depend, okay, if you have insurance, if you don't have insurance, the bills you're gonna have to pay for that, having the money financially to support that, and obviously health should come first for most people, but then it's also finances that I think a lot of people think about too, along those lines. Or maybe some people just get a thrill out of it, or they work better when they're stressed out and have to cram for a test.
Is that? Ooh,
I think it's a mixture of both. I think when it comes to certain things, like ignorance is bliss, like when it comes to the doctor, like you don't want to go because you don't want to find out you're putting it off. Other things, I think there is better things to do or more fun things to do. As opposed to doing your laundry or, doing yard work. I mean, you can either go and watch TV or you can go and hang out with your friends, so that's why I think procrastination happens a lot.
I think it's like, for me when I think about it, why like we procrastinate, it's because it's the bridge between being a kid and an adult. When you're a kid, people tell you, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But once you're an adult, you're the one that tells you that you have to do it. So that's
True.
such a huge difference in growing up, because now it's like, oh, well, I
It's
could
really
procrastinate.
holding you accountable.
For everything.
I also work better under stress. I remember when I was in college, I would have a paper due, like a 5-page paper. I'd wake up at 4 in the morning, write that paper, get to class by 9, and do well. If I actually planned on the paper, nothing ever happened. I would just sit there like an idiot, staring. And then I'd become Bill Shakespeare at 4 in the morning, sitting there writing out a freaking...
But were you really though?
I got pretty good grades.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because see, that would be me. I would think, when I do that, it's like, oh my god, this is so great. This is going to be awesome. I'm totally going to do this. And then, you read it later and, what did I write?
No,
Oh my god.
Good grades. I think certain people's mind work better under pressure like that. I'm not saying it's a healthy way at all. But I just think some people, procrastination works for them. And I was one of those people.
I think schooling is definitely one where people feel like they can procrastinate and get away with. I think over time, I've learned through high school and then going into college and now being in this program, what I can and cannot get away with in procrastinating. And it's horrible because that's how I judge in my mind. I'm like, oh, but that's not due till midnight and it's 10. I got some time.
Right.
So I think but then there's things that I procrastinate about, and I don't know that you do, that are things that I could have done months in advance. I sat at the DMV the other day for 2.5 hours for an expired license the day before it expired because I was going away for my birthday. And I was stressed out and I had no time to do it, but I sat there for 2.5 hours when my license, it says on there, expires on, and it's been on my license for 5 years. It was expiring on my
Always
birthday.
on your birthday, yeah.
I know, but it's been on my license
Well,
for 5 years.
You can just renew it online.
This year I did not because I was turning 29, so I had to get a picture taken. So I could not.
New picture.
And you know what? I set up an appointment, and then I said, why do I need an appointment? I'll just walk in there.
No.
Canceled the appointment, walked in there, and sat for 2.5 hours.
But you got homework done while you were sitting there for 2.5 hours, right?
I did. I actually brought my laptop. See, and I did not procrastinate. I
Time
planned.
management.
I was, yes, very successful with my time. Thank you. That makes me feel better. So there are things I think we procrastinate about that don't really need to be procrastinated on. And I don't know if that's just me personally, but you know, I don't know. Like working out was another thing. Oh, I'm gonna wake up every day at 6 a.m. and I'm gonna work out. It lasts for like a week, and then I'm like, I want to sleep in. Why am I getting up at 6 a.m.? I'll just work out after work. Oh wait, but I don't go to a 24-hour fitness. I go to CalFit, and CalFit closes at 10. Dang, I can't make it.
Excuses.
Yeah, excuses. So
No excuses, play like a champion.
there you go. So in relation to our stress management and our goal setting, how do you think time management plays into all of that?
Huge. Right? Because if you have everything planned out and you have your things set out in front of you, you won't be as stressed because, well, it kind of is. Like if you have like this huge long list of things you have to do and to try to manage out your time, of course you're going to be more stressed than this ginormous list, which then goes upon what we talked about last week of like little things as opposed to big things.
Yeah.
But I think they're correlated like immensely. Like,
No, it's nice to, and that's something that I did, started to a little while ago, was having like a planner and just trying to be more organized, and like Mallory said, not keep it all in your head, because when you have a planner, a day-to-day agenda, what you need to get done or do, or it just kind of makes things flow a little easier. And you're like, wait, I thought I had something to do, and now I can't remember, oh, well, whatever, and then you miss an appointment or meeting with a friend, or, you know, like that. And then that stresses you out, because I'm like, wait,
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like sometimes 24 hours is either way too much time or not enough time at all. And I guess it just depends on like the task at hand. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I have 24 hours. I can plan each hour, and then something will happen, and then the next thing gets pushed back.
Comes up.
Yep, and then it keeps going and going and going back, and then before I know it, 24 hours is up, and I've got no time to sleep, and now I'm missing out on other things because of that. So,
Gotta take into account for different things happening in life.
yeah.
Well, and that's what you were talking about with the, urgency and what's important and what's not important. And you have to section those things off within your schedule, because when you have to push something else out, something else needs to either come to the forefront because it's too important, or it needs to go to the back because it's not important enough.
I agree. I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great way of actually tying in our time. Good job. Tying in our time management matrix with our goals and stress. Because if, let's say, you do plan out your day, or you have something planned out, and something does get cut off or pushed, how are you going to react to that? Are you going to become stressed out? Are you going to get rid of something that wasn't important to you at the end of the day that you just want to make time for? Instead of being able to sit down and watch your favorite TV show, now you got to get rid of that because something else has come into place. And how do you react to that? And, what do you do in that situation? Are there any ways that you think that you could avoid procrastination? Or you could work better at being more manageable with your time?
I think being prepared ahead of time, we were talking about making the planners and doing our lists and stuff. I know that I start school again next week, and I know I already have my syllabus for one of my classes, so I should just pull out a planner now and write in all of my stuff so I know when stuff is due and when I have to have certain things done by, so that I can efficiently get through the next 16 weeks of school.
And that way you can actually enjoy your vacation too. If you're to do that today versus waiting, then you're not rushing home from vacation or wherever you're at to
Right.
do all that stuff that you need to do.
I just need to stop being lazy and do laundry. Well, while we're all here, let's fold some laundry. It'll be a team building experience.
I like that.
And good time management.
Right?
I
Exactly.
really love laundry.
Really? You should,
Yeah.
I will pay you.
Because, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll take it. Because it's one of, and this goes back to time management too, is that it's the easiest chore to be able to multitask.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I did that in the washer, that's in the dryer, folding it right now. Once this is done, like it's like a circle. Everything else with chores, it's like I start doing something and then I'm like, oh, this is taking so long.
So after talking about laundry, I just want to wrap it all up by saying thank you very much for being here. I'm kind of sad this is the end of our 3 weeks together. Hopefully we all learn something from each other and learn something from this experience and learn that group therapy is actually kind of fun and not such like a bad thing. And we're not alone when we talk out loud to each other, and we can definitely learn something by just reaching out to each other. So thank you all for being here, and next time I'm in group therapy, we will all be together again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe like a group hug or something.
Oh, we should.